South Africa faces challenges with high unemployment and low skills development, which are reflective of the stagnant economy. Let's take a look at how various job creation initiatives have progressed over the past year. Joining us now is Andile Stemela, Fund Manager at the National Empowerment Fund. Andile, very good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Reflecting on what the President has said yesterday, particularly in relation to the issues of job creation, and empowerment, do you think the President hit the right notes, or again, as many pundits are saying, it was a hit and miss?
Well, I definitely think the tonality was spot on. It goes without saying that all our efforts in the different spheres, directly as national governments, but also as the agencies that are put in place to deal with some of these challenges. Job creation and job maintenance is highest amongst the priority areas that we look at.
So what would those key initiatives that would make an impact, particularly when you look at SME funding, job creation, skills development, and so on? Well,
I think for us at the NEF, the focus has always been to ensure an inclusive economy. And by that, what we say is we need to find a way that our funding does not only reach, call it the haves, as it were, but rather to say, are we touching all areas of the country? And to that end, we've tried to align ourselves with the district development model to say of all the 52 districts, including the metros, what has been our reach. And, I can say that as of today, we currently preside over a portfolio that has reached at least 47 of those 52 districts across the country. So it's about entrenching and spreading the pie as far as possible, whilst incurring the minimum amount of cost, given the realities that we live in this age with the global economy being what it is.
Would you then say that exactly the point there being the current economic climate, to a certain extent, does not allow SME development and entrepreneurship to thrive? But would you then say that the President addressed that enough, but also, gave hope to entrepreneurs and just in this uncertain climate that we are in?
My personal belief is that uncertainty, whilst it breeds opportunity, and I think sometimes it's at this very moment where those who have that risk appetite to go into some of these sectors, especially in some of these regions that are not necessarily heralded as hotspots of economic activity, can actually start to build. But that can only happen with a very strong partnership of developmental institutions like ourselves, the NEF, where we take as patient as possible as a role in ensuring the development of these entrepreneurs through what undoubtedly will be rough times in the initial years of their business operations.
And if you speak to many an entrepreneur, Andile, they would tell you that the biggest issue is funding. I mean, are there solutions to that? Because, as much as we talk about some of these initiatives and programs that are there, one argues that they're really never enough to plug all the holes, as it were.
I think that's the unfortunate reality of economics, that there never is enough to meet every need and every want that exists within any given economy. But indeed, government has put in place quite a number of support systems through the developmental financing institutions like the NEF, the IDC, and the like. But over and above that, have gone further to try and partner and create funds that allow for concessionary funding. And by that we mean funding which is available at a cost a lot lower than what one would, expect from the likes of your corporate banking institutions. For example, over the years, we've developed partnerships in the Black Business Manufacturing Fund, where our idea was to pair NEF funding with DTIC initiatives, where the DTIC funds would actually come in at a pricing of about 2% fixed, and this has allowed for many a young and small business player within the manufacturing sector to actually, one, survive through the tailwinds of the COVID the COVID disaster that we all faced, but now start to entrench themselves and grow as small and aspirant medium businesses.
The other big issue, Andile, is the issue of access to these funds. How do we address that? Are there enough platforms to address that? I mean, you look at the NEF, as you say, 2.8 billion in support of 705 small and medium enterprises that you have done over the years. But many would still talk about access to these funds, that it's never really possible. It's for a select few.
I think maybe a small correction. I would say we've since inception probably done closer to 13 billion in approvals, of which 10 billion or more has already flowed to the different businesses,
okay,
to 1,500 SMEs. The question of access, I think, has to do with call it a double-edged sword, where we have to play our role in informing the aspirant entrepreneurs as to what is required in order to access these funds. Our processes have to be outlined as clearly as possible, and then we have to then take it upon ourselves to actually meet some of those timelines and deadlines that we give ourselves, so as not to cause frustration with our entrepreneurs. So, like I said, it's about us informing, but also the applicants taking the time to actually understand what is required. Because at the end of the day, DFIs are risk-based funders. We don't go like the banks and just look at your collateral and say, well, I can take a risk because I know I can recover. But we then say, because there's a risk here, we have to find a way to mitigate this risk with you or for you, and work with you post-approval to ensure that we are able to, keep the business sustainable into perpetuity, even once the NEF has been exited as a funder.
Fantastic. Andile, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for coming through.